Very excited to have everybody joining us tonight. Welcome to Help Your Student Become an Independent Adult, Part 1. Part 2 will be next month. We'll talk more about that later. But thank you for joining us. This is fabulous having so many of you here this evening. I'm Joanne Goldwater. I'll be moderating tonight, and I am joined tonight by some wonderful colleagues who are absolutely terrific to give up their Tuesday night to be with us tonight. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. Hey, Rob, why don't you go ahead?
Hi there. Hello, everyone. Glad you all could make it out this evening. I'm the Director of Financial Aid in the Office of Student Financial Assistance. I have been at St. Mary's altogether for almost 23 years now. I started in 2002 as a student, graduated, worked in admissions for a bit, and have been in financial aid since 2013.
Thank you so much. And Jess, why don't you go next?
Sure. Jess Jolly, Director of Counseling at SMCM. I've been here for about 3 years. Prior to coming on board at SMCM, I was in community behavioral health in St. Mary's County, and I also worked in higher ed in the accessibility office at a university back in Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Jess. And Patrice.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrice Darby. I'm the Associate Director of Student Support in the Office of Student Success Services. And it's so nice to see you all, especially the faces that we get to see. We invite you to interact and ask all the questions that you have tonight.
And again, I'm Joanne. Thank you, Patrice. I'm Joanne Goldwater. I'm the Associate Dean for Retention and Student Success. I'm also the Seahawk Family Liaison, so you may be familiar with me a little bit. I've been at St. Mary's since 1993 in various roles. I love my job, and I am delighted that we are doing this session for you tonight. So I am going to go ahead and share the screen so that you can follow along. Hopefully you can see on your screen where it says your presenters, and we will proceed with our session tonight. Our agenda, we're going to be talking about FAFSA, a really great topic that I know everybody's excited about. We're going to give you some tips on things that you as parents need to be thinking about, that need to get done between March and May, and some information so that you can help direct your student. We're going to have some opportunities to talk about summer school opportunities, self-care and self-advocacy, and then we're going to have a Q&A. So hopefully this will cover some questions that you may have. So our learning outcomes for this evening, because we are an educational institution, we do like to have learning outcomes. We do. So we are hoping that by the end of this webinar, all of you will have the opportunity to be able to guide your student to the various campus resources when your student has questions, and to offer helpful suggestions to your student so your student can take appropriate actions. Not you, your student. So we're going to start off with FAFSA. Rob, it's all yours.
Thank you. So the FAFSA, as many of you may know, is open. We recommend that it be filed as soon as possible for those of you who have returning students for next year. We will get those students packaged with that FAFSA information shortly after the spring semester ends, so sometime late May, early June, just in time for the bills to come out next July for the next year for the fall semester. We have to have that information to put that package together. It is something you do every year. It's also something that you'll need to log into. So find that login information you used for last year's FAFSA. I will say that we are seeing that they have made the adjustments and fixes and needed repairs to the FAFSA that it's taking most people about 15 minutes to file now, if you haven't done so already. So hopefully for you, it will also be easy to get in, get that taken care of so we can get those packages together. One of the things that I do want to reiterate, as Joanne mentioned, kind of at the outcomes, what we're looking to take from the presentation is that the students really should be communicating with us. When we get emails from parents, that's great, but now we're leaving out the student in that communication in many cases. We have students that come into our office that don't know they have loans. Because their parent has logged in and done the things for them all through up to this point. And so they don't know that they will have loans they need to pay back in the future. And that kind of takes me to the last point there. Their loan servicers, we can help them find that. It's very easy to find on studentaid.gov, which is where you file the FAFSA and everything. To know who they are, start contacting them, figure out what it is they need to do in the future. And one of the things that we have there as a resource for all of our students, parents, you can use it as well. Their siblings can use it. It doesn't matter. Is this resource we have called Grad Ready. And Joanne, if you go to the next slide, you'll see that everything we have here in terms of this Grad Ready program, from paying for college, real world finances, learning life skills, and money management. So really going through these different paths to learn all of these great lessons in how to, if they need extra help paying for college, what they can do, that money management. So, hey, if I want to open a credit card, what's that really going to mean? It's, yeah, sure, it'll build credit, but also you got to pay it back, what that interest rate means, getting through all the way to those kind of life skills and learning opportunities. So being able to have these resources that are free and available to all of our students is something that we hope they take great advantage of to be able to be kind of better people financially and hopefully better learners as they move through their time at St. Mary's. So my part is pretty short and sweet. So what questions do you have for me?
Please feel free to post them, or you can unmute yourself if you'd like to just go ahead and ask Rob any questions. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. You have to leave early tonight, right? Do you
I
have
could
to leave
say
early
yes,
tonight?
but I do not.
Oh, well, excellent. So if you
I mean,
don't,
yes, I have to go.
if you don't have questions right now, not a problem. Oh, well, we do have something.
Yeah.
How can students access the online modules you mentioned?
Every student that's received an email from any one of us in the office, there is an image and a link within our email signature, as well as all of the resources on our webpage. The majority of our students are preloaded. They'll log in, their information is already there. If it's not, obviously something they can sign in and create that account with. But it's very easy to get to from our webpage, smcm.edu/OSFA.
Excellent, thank you. And to answer the question, will this presentation be available after the meeting? Yes, it will be. We are recording it. And the slides will be posted along with the recording on the Office of Student Success Services, or OS3, Parent and Family Resources website. So we will make sure that it's up there, hopefully by the end of the week, if not early next week, so you can refer back to this information. Rob, does a student need to separately submit MHEC application too?
The MHEC One app does need to be submitted. Yes.
Excellent.
And that goes for any of the senatorial delegate programs, the special populations, the need-based programs, workforce, anything like that. MHEC is the Maryland Higher Education Commission. That is who manages all of those state aid programs for students.
If my student has a merit award, do parents need to file FAFSA to keep it?
They do not. We always recommend it be on file to have those opportunities available to them, but our merit awards, the trustee, things like the trustee president's excellence, PTK, those sorts of things, do not require a FAFSA to be on file.
Excellent. If you think of other questions, folks, feel free to put them in the chat. We are going to proceed now with our next section, what students and parents need to do between March and May. There are some important things coming up depending on whether your student is a graduating student or not graduating. So first and foremost, for our graduating students, please encourage your student to apply for graduation if they have not done so already. And I hope they have if they're planning on graduating in May. Applying for graduation will trigger a degree audit by our registrar's office, which means that someone in that office is going to look through all of the classes they've taken, their grades, to make sure that they've got all their upper division credits. They need 44, that they've satisfied all their lead requirements, that they've satisfied the major and or minor requirements, all of that. If you wouldn't mind muting yourselves when you come on in, that would be great. Thank you. So it's really important that they apply for graduation so that degree audit can be started. Students, parents, if you want to do this as a present for your student, you can, but students need to be purchasing that cap and gown to wear at commencement. They were available starting in February, and if they're ordered by the end of this month, it costs $56.95. After March 30th, the cost goes up a little bit, and the students go to the campus store to purchase both the cap and gown, and they can also order the graduation announcements. There's also a link so that the students, if you want to share that link with them, they can go online to order the announcements. They can also order their class ring. So that's a really nice graduation present, parents, if you want to give that to your student. They should also be looking for emails coming from our Dean of Students, Derek Young, about Senior Week activities. We have Gala, which is a very popular event, and then there are some other activities, but some of them require tickets, and students should be getting those tickets in a timely manner. And then, of course, before they leave, and ideally before commencement, which is on May 10th, they need to clean their room and their unit. So if they're living in the townhouses, they have to clean that whole unit. I'm the former director of residence life, and I can tell you some horror stories of townhouses and apartments that I've had to walk into that had not been cleaned for quite a while. Ooh. So parents, what you could be doing right now is if you're coming from a distance and you don't want to be driving at 3 o'clock in the morning to get here at the start of commencement, which starts at 10 a.m., you can go ahead and reserve your hotel room right now. That would be a very good idea. Also, please think about attending our awards convocation if possible. It's on April 11th. That's a Friday at 4:30 p.m. A lot of our students get awards, departmental awards, general college awards, academic awards, all kinds of different awards. So if you can, please come to that. If your senior is doing a St. Mary's project, also known on campus as an SMP, please try to attend that. They love it when their family members show up for those SMP presentations. It's a really big deal. We don't have classes for the couple days before exams start. The students have worked really, really hard on this 2-semester St. Mary's project. And so they really look forward to having the supporters in their lives attending those presentations. We suggest that you arrive early for graduation. The grounds will open 8:30. Come on in. We have a really big tent. First come, first serve for seats under the tent. Otherwise, you'll be sitting outside under some trees in most cases. But we do our ceremony outside, rain or shine, unless there's lightning in the area, in which case we will go inside for a period of time until the storm passes, and then we come back out to finish out commencement. And then please know and keep this in mind. So if you're planning a post-graduation lunch, the students who live in our traditional style residence halls, Caroline, Prince George, Dorchester, and Queen Anne, as well as the students who live in the Lewis Quad Suites and the Waring Common Suites, have to be out of their rooms by 3 p.m. If they live in the Waring Commons apartments or the townhouses, they have until 5 p.m. because there's more stuff that they have to clean up. So please keep that in mind for whatever you're planning to do after the ceremony ends. And then for our continuing students, they need to meet with their academic advisor. We have registration starting at the end of the month. Advising day is March 25th, and our students really, really, really should meet with their academic advisor to go through what classes they would like to take, what classes they need to take to make sure they're on track to graduate on time, see where they are with the requirements, all of that. So they should schedule a meeting on advising day, March 25th, or even a few days before that. Some of the professors and advisors will be starting to meet with students actually the week we get back from spring break, and then the few days prior to March 25th. Then they should be registering in our new portal for classes for the fall semester between March 26th and April 4th. If they are interested in getting a summer internship, and if you were part of last month's conversation, we talked about the value and importance of doing internships. They can and should work with our Center for Career and Professional Development, also known as the CCPD, located on the second floor of Glendenning Hall, to get that summer internship. Some of the internships are paid, some of them are not paid, but you can get credit for them. So it would be a really good idea for the students to get onto that really quickly. And then they too need to clean their room and pack. And then parents, you need to make arrangements for your student to move home. And we'll be talking more about that at our next webinar in April.
Hello,
Okay.
and we have two questions in the chat.
Mhm.
The first is, does St. Mary's College of Maryland publish a fall 2024 Dean's List?
What a great question. Thank you for asking that. Typically, I send out notices to the students who are on the Dean's List, but with our new system, we are still implementing parts of the system, so we have not gotten that list yet. Once I get the list, I will be notifying the students.
Thank you. And our second question is, can we put the link for purchase of cap and gown and graduation announcements in the chat?
We will certainly get to that in just a few moments. I will go back in and do that for you. Okay.
Thank you. Parents, thank you for your questions. We love questions. So if anything else comes up, does SMCM have a winter commencement?
We do not have a winter commencement. The students who graduate in late summer or in the fall are more than welcome to come back for our May commencement and are strongly encouraged to come back for May commencement. If they live a distance away, they can even make arrangements to live on campus for senior week so they don't have to miss any of those fun activities. So please, if you're a student graduated in December or will be graduating next December, please encourage them to come back. They worked hard. They should enjoy that commencement ceremony.
Hey, thank you so much, Joanne, and thank you for parents for your questions and comments. Next, we're going to be talking about collegiate summer school. So one of the differences between high school and college is that no one in college is forced to do summer school for any reason, but it can be very, very helpful. So one of the reasons that students can benefit from taking summer courses is to catch up. Heaven forbid they are enrolled in Psych 101 and maybe they don't go and seek that help. Maybe they don't know if they can get a free tutor. Maybe they don't go to office hours. Maybe they don't do the readings or use the resources and they end up failing a course. If a student fails a course, they can retake it here at St. Mary's College of Maryland to raise their GPA. Next slide, please. So I like numbers. So I decided to a very simple explanation, hopefully, of why taking it at SMCM versus retaking that failing class somewhere else has a different impact on your GPA. So a GPA is what we call a weighted average. Each grade, as you can see on the slide, is associated with a numerical value, and an F is associated with a 0. So if you have a student who is taking 16 credits and they get a B plus, an A, a B minus, and an F, and each class is worth 4 credits, they would end up with a 2.5 GPA. Next slide, please.
The balloon all over you. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, this thing was awesome.
Okay. Next slide, please. If they retake that class at St. Mary's College of Maryland, that F is replaced with the new grade. So instead of getting a 0 in terms of the grade numerically, if they get an A, they now get a 4. That would raise their GPA from a 2.5 to a 3.5 GPA if this was the only for that semester. However, next slide, please. They do have the option of retaking that class somewhere else. If they retake the class somewhere else, instead of replacing that F with an A, those credits get X'd out of the GPA calculation for that semester because they transfer in the credits from somewhere else. Credits transfer in and grades don't. So you'll see that original 2.5 GPA only went up to a 3.3 if they took it somewhere else, instead of getting that 3.5. So taking a class somewhere else, if the student failed it here, can help by subtraction, but the way to increase their GPA by the largest margin is by retaking that class here at St. Mary's College of Maryland. Next slide, please. But there are other reasons why students will choose to take summer school courses. Even if your student has never failed anything, this is an opportunity for them to get ahead in their curriculum. Maybe they're a double major and a minor and in an inquiry, and they have very, very specific needs that they want fulfilled at St. Mary's College of Maryland. Taking summer courses can help them get ahead in their curriculum, especially if they're double majoring or minoring. Even if they don't seek to get ahead, our summer courses often contain special topics. So for example, this summer, Psychology 486, the topic is memory in the movies. Now, Psych 486 is offered regularly, but it's a special topics class. So this topic will only be covered in the summer this year. So if they are particularly interested in memory in the movies, they would benefit from taking it over the summer. Next slide, please. So how do students sign up? Registration for summer courses actually opened yesterday at 8 a.m. Every student got an email about this, and I'll give you the details should you need to remind your student. Students should review the courses offered, and that's actually included in the email they got, a hyperlink to the portal of what's offered, and they can sign up in their anthology portal right now. Next slide, please. Oh, we have a question. Are the summer courses online? That's a very good question. I did a quick scan of the courses that are being offered. Right now, for summer 2025, about half of the courses are being online and about half are being offered in person. There's no rule that says summer courses are only offered online. It depends on the course and it depends on the professor. So we highly encourage the students to look up what's being offered for the summer to understand whether or not they're online. Now, one thing I want to point out is that there is a cost associated with taking summer courses. It's not a part of your regular tuition. Can you click, please, Joanne? This is animated. So if a student is in state or they're a DC resident, it's typically going to cost $300 per credit plus a $50 fee. Our out-of-state students, summer courses are going to cost $450 a credit plus a $50 fee. And there may be additional fees for individual courses for specific classes, but all that information will be listed upon the registration information for that class. For SMCM students, payment for summer tuition is due no later than 4 p.m. on Friday, April 18th. So it's not the first day of summer classes. Students do need to be mindful that this is the deadline for paying for those summer classes. Next slide, please.
And just as an aside, if certain classes don't get a minimum number of students, they may potentially be canceled. That's one of the reasons why students need to register early so that the class doesn't get canceled.
Yes, and if a student has already paid their deposit for a course, for example, and they're the only student who signs up for that course, for example, and it's canceled, they will receive a full refund in that case. So there's no risk involved in, well, what if nobody else registers? If it's canceled for that reason, they will get a full refund. So what about courses at other schools? Yes, absolutely. If a student may take courses, particularly at their local community college, is something that's very popular. We have online and available to the public our transfer equivalency system, which is referred to as TES. If there is a course that has been transferred into St. Mary's College of Maryland in the last 5 years, it's already preloaded into this system. So for example, if a student wanted to take a class at Prince George's Community College, they would click on PGCC, they would find what that course is called at Prince George's Community College and would see what it counts for at St. Mary's College of Maryland. If they would like to transfer a course in that is not already in our TES system, they need to do a pre-approval of transfer credit. Those forms can be found in the registrar's office, outside the registrar's office, which is on the first floor of Glendinning Hall, or they are available online in the portal. The point here is if a student's going to take a course, they need to know what it's going to count for here. Now, if they just really, really, really want to take a course because they're passionate about it and they don't care how it helps them towards graduation, they should still submit the form to see if it can help them towards graduation. So that's something students need to do before they register for off-campus courses. Next slide, please. And I get to questions. So every student received an email on February 26th with the information about summer 2025 courses from our registrar. It includes the link to see all of the summer courses. It includes a video guide explaining how to register in the portal. And it also includes the payment and costs associated with it, and a nice, neat little bundle. So they don't need to run around the internet to find all this. It was sent to them on February 26th. So parents, if you have questions about this information, I highly encourage you to talk to your student and ask them to pull up this email with all of the information. And if your student is non-responsive, yes, you can Google it as well. Next slide, please. So if a student is interested in summer courses and they need help, they need support, who can help? Well, our registrar's office formally is over all registration for all courses. They are very, very helpful. The student's advisor, as Joanne mentioned, advising day is on March 25th. All students will be meeting with their advisors in the next few weeks. They can always talk to their advisor. And of course, they can always come to Joanne and I's office, the Office of Student Success Services, OS3, and we can help them through that process as well. There is so much help on campus for students who need it. If they reach out for support, the support is there. So I saw a question that I don't think I answered. Will the advisors be sending out an email link to register for an advising appointment to discuss fall registration, or should students reach out directly to the advisor to set up a date and time? That's a very good question. Every advisor is a little bit different. I always encourage students, if you are concerned about it, you should reach out, be your own advocate. You do not need to wait until your advisor reaches out to you. So if your student is wondering about it, they should probably send an email to make sure that they understand the protocol. Some advisors have already emailed their advisees to sign up for advising times, and others have let advisees know that it is on them to sign up for that time. But if a student is not clear about what the protocol is, they should preemptively reach out to their advisor instead of waiting for an email from the advisor that they may have already missed. That's a very good question.
Patrice,
have
if
some
we can
additional
jump in real
questions.
quick.
Go ahead, Rob.
Sure.
You're talking about summer classes. Have them come meet with us in OSFA as well, because financial aid does work differently for the summertime. And there are things that we may be able to have put in place. Otherwise, we'll certainly give them those options they have to cover the cost of that class, which for Maryland residents is $1,200 plus the fees. So you're looking at around $1,500 for each class.
Thank you, Rob. That's very helpful information. So there can be support for these summer classes. Thank you for adding that.
And
All right.
students who are in the D'Souza Brent Scholars Program, there's also support through that program for the DB scholars. Where can we find what classes will be offered in the fall of 2025?
So as I mentioned, all of your students have the link, but if you are burning to know for yourself what is offered, you can look on our registrar's website for the summer 2025 course
What
list.
about for fall?
For fall 2025,
Hmm?
it is anticipated that the actual schedule for fall 2025 will be live and anthology in the course search around May 17th.
March.
March. Woo, sorry, saw the MA. I digress. I correct myself. March. I repeat, March 17th. Students and faculty anyone should be able to log in to see the full course schedule for fall 2025. That is the anticipated, not the promised date.
And remember, folks, we want the students to be taking responsibility for this. We want them to learn how to become independent adults. So please encourage your student to do that. Another question, when registering for classes, are certain students given priority? For example, students who have declared a major.
That's a wonderful question. So the main priority is by credits. Most students will register for fall 2025 classes with a registration time, and the registration time is approximately ranked in order of credits. But yes, there are certain classes where students are given priority if they have declared that major, and it's particularly apparent when it's a waitlist situation. So if a student ends up on the wait list, meaning they didn't get into the first opening of classes, but there is a possibility of opening more seats in that class, yes, a student who is a declared major and needs the class for their major will be given priority over a student who is taking it for a minor, for a general education requirement, or for a general pleasure class. So yes, and as a reminder, students are required to declare their major by the end of their sophomore year. So if that's something that they need support to kind of think through, where do they fit, what path might be the best for them, they can always speak to their advisors, or they are more than welcome to come to OS3 to kind of work through understanding what major path might be best for their future goals and their interests.
Is housing available for summer courses?
Joanne, what is the answer to that question?
The answer is yes. Students can live on campus. There is a fee for living on campus, but they can live on campus while they are enrolled in summer classes. Students who work on campus or off campus for the summer can also live on campus. So encourage your student to sign up for housing by the deadline that housing has posted. they are already taking students, signing them up for summer housing. The awards convocation is the day after graduation ceremony. No, the awards convocation is on April 11th. Commencement is on May 10th. And another question, are local community college courses the only recognized ones if taken in the state of Maryland, or are community college credits from out of state potentially applicable?
Great question. Absolutely. Credits from accredited out-of-state institutions have been accepted in the past. Of course, it's more likely to have been transferred in the past 5 years if it's local, more likely. But if your student is interested in taking classes at a community college in a different state, they should submit the pre-approval of transfer credit form before they register so that they can understand what it will count for here. But absolutely, students are welcome to take classes at community college courses outside of Maryland as well.
And the last question we're going to take for right now, so that we can give Jess Jolly time to do her section. When does registration open for sophomores? They will be, I'm looking at my calendar right now. Seniors generally will be registering on March 26th. Some of them may be on the 27th. Juniors on the 27th, some on the 28th. Some of our sophomores may be able to register as early as the 28th of March, and then on the 31st. And then the first years will be registering typically around the 31st until the 1st. And then the rest of that week is for students who may have missed registering when they were scheduled. They can register for themselves all the way up until April 4th.
Mm-hmm. Also, keep in mind that a student can, if they transfer in a lot of AP credits, for example, or they've brought in community college community college credits because they were in a dual enrollment program, may be a first year student, meaning it is their first year on campus, but they may have sophomore standing because of credits. So just know the two are not always identical when we talk about registration.
And we will get to the rest of these questions in a little while, but right now, Jess Jolly is going to share information about student wellness and self-care and all that good stuff. Jess?
Hey, everyone. All right. So as this webinar is titled, Help Your Student Become an Independent Adult, Part 1, we could not speak of independence without talking about wellness and self-care in particular. It's really important to have life skills that promote health, both physical, mental, emotional health. So I put a few definitions on the slides of what is wellness. I take it from SAMHSA and the 8 Dimensions of Wellness project that was created about 10, 15 years ago. So wellness is different for everyone, and it's defined in many ways, but it refers to overall well-being, and it's more than just the absence of disease or stress. It's finding purpose, active enjoyment in life, whether it's work or play, having joyful relationships and a healthy body and living environment. So this is what I am basically giving an overview of, the 8 dimensions of wellness. So when students come to our office, typically they might be in a state of stress, distress. There might be multiple dimensions here impacted in some way. So our goal is to help students find balance in these areas. There's a cat. My apologies. So in regards to emotional, usually counseling offices on college campuses help support the emotional coping and growth of students. But sometimes when students come into our office, they might have physical needs. They might need to be connected to a provider, such as the health services office, or find an off-campus provider as well for special health needs, or a psychiatrist. So we help direct them in the area that they're really looking to grow and feel balanced in. So with that, we have case management at our office as well. So, any dimension that is in need, the case manager can help refer the student to that resource. Next slide. Stress management. Stress is another area that we see a lot of students come in for in regards to needing help through a stressful or difficult time. One thing we like to mention as the counseling office and certified counselors and licensed therapists that we are, stress is normal. Stress happens, right? We're responding to the world around us. There's different degrees of stress. But it can be managed. So we help students find ways to manage stress. By doing that, some of the routes that we like to encourage is self-care. So improving physical and mental health, which can lower stress, lowers risk of illness as well. So there's been some studies on that. So the question is, college students, busy schedules. Some students are working multiple jobs on campus, off campus. They're in clubs, they're running clubs, they're founders of clubs. How can we promote self-care for our students? Next slide. Thank you. So some encouragements might be to set goals and priorities. Just take small steps. I love this image, the importance of taking smaller steps, right? We have to break things down sometimes to get where we want to be. Prioritizing, deciding what must get done now and what must wait. Practicing gratitude, some positive psychology, right? What did I accomplish today versus what did I not accomplish, right? And identifying the unhelpful thoughts and the challenges. So sometimes it's important to recognize what we're feeling and thinking to help us move forward with stress reduction especially. And then staying connected to friends, family, supports on campus. OS3 can also be a great resource for students. And we refer often between our two offices.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of back and forth.
Mm-hmm. So some tips for self-care and independence and adulting. Make sleep a priority. College students are one of the largest demographics of sleep-deprived individuals in this country. So prioritizing sleep is of great importance. Trying some relaxation activities, just taking breaks. And a slide that I'll discuss, putting some time in to relax is also important. Getting regular exercise. We have a great exercise center at the ARC where students can use equipment, or it's a beautiful area to walk in. SMCM, if you've been down to visit, there's a lot of great walking paths with just really beautiful views. Also encouragements to students to eat healthy, regular meals and stay hydrated. Sometimes we're asked about dietary choices. One thing that's not well known is the Bon Appetit, the contractor for meals at the Great Room. They have a dietitian that students can meet with, ask questions. If they do have specific dietary needs, there's also the accommodations office that they could talk to. But if they're really just kind of looking to get on a path that's best suited for them with meals, that dietitian can be contacted through Bon Appetit. Her name's Diane Rosner. All right. So another element in taking care of oneself is creating a plan to take care of oneself. So these are just some examples. These are slides that we show for student workshops. Think about your priorities. What are your goals for your well-being? Who is your support system you can call on when you're under a state of stress or feeling disconnected, feeling lonely? What will you do to support different areas of your self-care, physical, emotional, spiritual, for example? These are just examples that I pulled from the internet, but it's important to put these things forward and first. And as we know with goal accomplishment, setting the goal is the first step, right? Just knowing kind of what you're striving towards is of importance. Okay, what's in your schedule? So OS3, I know you review this with students. Oh, you could go forward. Thank you. But one of the strategies that we use with students is to really look at your schedule and what's all going in there. So what are the requirements, such as the courses, the homework, but also build in that self-care. When will you have time to eat? When will you have time, for social activities or your exercise routine? We look at a schedule as is, right? Here's our student schedule, but remember to build those really important self-care priorities in there as well. Another area that's important to discuss is if there's some issues that have been persisting, typically 2 weeks or more is a standard of seeking professional help. That's usually encouraged. It could be less, of course, but if there's difficulty sleeping, appetite changes, weight changes, struggling to get out of bed in the morning, especially because of mood, difficulty concentrating, loss of interests and things that are once found to be enjoyable, and inability to perform daily functions and responsibilities, that's an indication to talk to a professional. And here is the counseling center. It's right next to the campus center in Margaret Brent Hall. It looks like a brick house. We provide individual group therapy. We have a meditation room students can drop in and use. We have peer counselors who are students that are trained in peer counseling. We have walk-in counseling from 1 to 3, Monday through Friday. We have mental health resources. We have our case management program. We also have a 24-hour helpline. And that's a 240-895-4200 number. It looks like a college number, so it's discreet. And if a student is really looking to reach out to someone at 3 o'clock in the morning, there is a trained professional on the other line that is trained to work with college students that can help them through.
And
Those are our hours. Yeah.
don't you have a space where if a student needs to have a video or telecall with a provider from off campus, they can reserve that space so they don't have to have that private conversation in earshot of their roommate or other people?
That is correct. And that's probably the ampersand more exclamation point at the bottom there. So we do have lower floor offices where we use we call them Zoom rooms. So they're rooms that could be signed out for the purpose of meeting with an outside provider, a doctor, therapist, psychiatrist, and it gives the student confidentiality. We have noise machines to help with that as well. But a student would just contact us and they would reserve a room during our operating hours. But it's quite popular. We had about 43 sessions last semester, students signing up to use the rooms. So sometimes the dorm rooms don't offer a lot of privacy for that. And these are a list of resources, our website, our anonymous chat. So we do have a way for students to contact us without identifying themselves, to get questions answered. We have WellTrack, which is a off-campus referral site for therapists in the community and surrounding communities. We actually have a great list of therapists all across Maryland and the United States. We have an Instagram, SMCM Counseling. There's our phone, Peer Health, Instagram, and our 24-hour helpline. But we also remind folks 988 is available.
And speaking of peer health, question, do students get paid to be a peer counselor or is it a volunteer position?
It's a paid position. It is throughout the academic year. There's a training period in the summer, and then a refresher training during winter break. And yeah,
Excellent.
it's great. They're very dedicated, and they learn a lot of skills in outreach, a lot of public health models, harm reduction, peer counseling I mentioned, and they hold events throughout the year.
Thank you, Jess.
Mhm.
Okay, our last section for this evening will be on self-advocacy. So, folks, up to this point, how about putting in the chat for me, please? Who has advocated for your student? We'll say prior to college. Who has been the advocates for your student? Let's see. I'm curious to see a mix of him and I. Yep. That's great. Parent and teachers. Yes, both. Okay. Super. Guilty. Teachers and administrators in high school. Ah, thank you for recognizing administrators as being advocates. In high school, but not at SMCM. Okay. Me and the teachers. Super. So my next question then is, in college, who advocates for your student? How about posting that in the chat for me? The student both is advocate before college because school was adversarial, working to make him his own advocate now. He does, my son, student. Cool. I like that. He's been advocating for himself at St. Mary's, but he knows he has folks who can help if needed. Boom. I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I wanted to talk about that in just a moment. He fills out the forms and applications, guidance from the parents. Yes, parents, just because your student is out of the house more than they're in the house now, doesn't mean that you stop being their advocate, okay? You can be there to support them, to give them advice, not necessarily to fight their battles, but certainly to provide a listening ear, that hug when they need it, the kick in the pants when they need it, okay? Being an advocate for them and doing for them are two very different things, and we want you to keep that in mind. Okay, if I could get this to move on, that would be really awesome. There we go. So when should students advocate for themselves? Maybe you could share some examples in the chat. Some of the things that we think of, students need to advocate for themselves if they're seeking accommodations. That's not something that you do anymore for them, parents. You may have done that in K-12, but you don't do that in college. The student has to do that for themselves. Maybe the student thinks that they deserve a grade change. Maybe the professor added something wrong, or maybe they don't understand why they got dinged on this particular answer, whatever the case may be. So the student is the one who should be requesting that grade change through the faculty member. And if they aren't satisfied there, then they go to the department chair. And if that doesn't work, then they can go to the associate dean and they can work their way up. So the student needs to do that. That needs to come directly from them. Maybe there's a statement made in class, during a meeting, in their suite, in their townhouse that was likely unintentional, but it was still potentially offensive to someone. They need to speak up and address that and not just let it go without being responded to. Let's see, anybody have any other suggestions or examples of self-advocacy when students need to speak up for themselves? My kid really wanted to register early for next year, so found out that he could take notes for another student and get that benefit. Very cool that he learned about this on his own and took the initiative. Awesome, that is wonderful. I love that. Great example. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. Okay, so the value of asking open-ended questions. We talk about this a lot with students and parents. Closed questions are those that require one word to respond. Yes, no, fine, good, Lousy. One-word response. That doesn't tell you diddly squat now, does it? Using open-ended questions can spark conversations better than giving directives at this point in their lives as they are becoming emerging adults. So it allows the students to share their thoughts and their feelings using their own words. And that's important. It helps them improve their communication. It builds their confidence. It builds their self-esteem. It allows for more meaningful conversations between you and your student. So if you would, how about posting in the chat some open-ended questions that you could come up with? A few that I've come up with to spark you here. Instead of saying, let's see, how was history today? Fine, lousy. Yeah, that's closed question. How about asking, what did you discuss in your history class today? Instead of saying, did you have fun at the party? How about asking, who went with you to the party and what did you do? Instead of asking, saying, we expect you at dinner with us every night during spring break. You could ask, what's your availability to join us for some family dinners during spring break? Instead of asking, have you lined up a summer internship yet? You could ask, what are your summer plans looking like? How can the Center for Career and Professional Development help? Those are the kinds of open-ended questions. What did you learn in class today? Yep. Tell me 3 things that made you grateful yesterday. Oh, what a lovely question. I love that. It really gets people thinking. Those are open-ended questions that we encourage you to ask. So how should your student advocate for themselves? There's something that we like to call I statements. I believe, I think, I need, I like, I don't like, in my opinion. So for example, they could say, I need some time in my room alone. That is an I statement. It's being respectful. It's helping them stay cool, calm, and collected and not getting upset and angry at their roommate or whatever. It allows them to be direct and to make reasonable requests. I want to be in my room without my roommate for a few minutes. I like to listen to soundtracks. I don't like to listen to opera. Those are great I statements. In my opinion, we've reached an impasse, and I think we need to speak with an RA about a mediation. That is a wonderful I statement to use. I statements are very effective getting those thoughts and feelings across, respecting oneself without trampling on the other person's feelings. So I'm curious, let me know if you think, is this statement reasonable or unreasonable? Your student wants an A in a class where they've been earning C's all semester. Is that reasonable or unreasonable? What do you think? Put that in the chat. Okay, I see several people saying unreasonable. Excellent, you're absolutely right. Although we do have some people who think they want that A in the class, but they've been earning C's. Reality check. Okay, what about your student asking a professor if the final exam will be multiple choice, short answer, or essay format? Is that a reasonable request or is that unreasonable? Reasonable, reasonable. Yep, that is a perfectly legitimate, reasonable request. They are self-advocating. They want to know the format for an upcoming exam. That is a perfectly acceptable thing to ask for. What about your student requesting to join a class by Zoom because it's cold and rainy? Is that reasonable or unreasonable? Nope. I also teach a couple of classes on campus, and believe it or not, I get an umbrella. They won't melt. Thank you. I have had students who have asked me, oh, can I do Zoom today? It's so cold outside and I don't want to get out of bed. I've had students say, oh, it's just too rainy. I don't want to, get all wet because I don't have an umbrella. No, they need to show up for those classes. What about your student requesting to join a class by Zoom because they were exposed to COVID? Would that be a reasonable request? Would that be them self-advocating? I see reasonable. I see yes. Yep, absolutely. This is a reasonable request. It's a good way for them to self-advocate. What about getting 3 additional weeks to turn in an assignment? Is that a reasonable request or an unreasonable request? Unreasonable? Yep, I would have to agree with you on that. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to move us ahead. Hopefully, if I could get this to move. There we go. So let's remember, folks, success doesn't just come and find you. You have to go out and get it. That's true for our students. They need to have that feeling that they can be successful and speak up for themselves. You can be in their corner. You can support them. You can advise them. You can guide them, but let them do for themselves. That's part of them becoming those emerging adults. Because I guarantee if they're having a dispute with a credit card company when they're 35 years of age, you do not want to get in the middle of that. Let them fight their battles when they need to. Let them stand up for themselves. That's what they need to do. That's what we want for them. That's what we want for you, the parents, okay? This is our contact information. These slides, by the way, will be posted hopefully by the end of the week along with the recording. We have another webinar, part 2 of helping your student become an independent adult next month on April 8th. There's the Zoom link, so hopefully you will join us. We will be sending out a reminder as well. And now we have time, a few minutes for some general questions. I'm going back through to see if we have any that have not yet been answered. What have you researched for internships, elevator pitches, etc.? That was a great open-ended question. What are you looking forward to during spring break? Another great open-ended question. Thank you so much. If I have missed some questions, please retype them. Let's see.
We have some interesting comments, Joanne, about whether the 3-week extension is reasonable or not. And the conversation, it goes around, it's circumstantial. It depends on the situation. And then one parent said, well, if the student was comatose at the time of the due date, that might be reasonable. And, that could be along the lines of reasonability. However, in a case like that, it's most likely that the student is going to end up taking a medical leave of absence. If they are in a coma, if they are hospitalized for a certain amount of time, we tend to be reasonable human beings. A medical leave of absence gives them the ability to take care of themselves, focus on their recovery of whatever's going on, and then start again in the next semester when they're feeling better. So if that ever does happen, and you never know, please reach out to the college about their full options, because we never want a student to feel pressured to still try and get in assignments if they were in a situation as dire as those. But it's a good conversation.
I will add that if there is an issue, a documentable extenuating circumstance that is out of the student's control near the end of the semester, the last 3 weeks or so, for example, maybe they do get hospitalized for whatever reason, or they have a mental health issue come up, students can in fact request from their individual professors to have an incomplete, which would extend the end of the semester for them. They would get I's for incomplete on their transcript, and then they would have a due date by which they have to submit the outstanding work that was missing. So that is something that they could work with. The students could contact our office if they're hospitalized, of course. Parents, please contact our office. We can assist with that process. Do students get 3 or 4 credits for courses taken at other schools? That depends on the number of credits they get from the other school. So if they get 3 credits from University of Maryland College Park, it will come to us as 3 credits. Even if our equivalent course is 4 credits, they've only earned the 3 credits at the other school. So they need to be aware of that, because sometimes that comes into play when they get close to graduation. They might be 1 or 2 credits short. What's the appropriate time to request a new faculty advisor? Students can change their advisors for this semester until this Friday. This Friday is the deadline. And then after we finish registration in April, they can start trying to get a new advisor for moving forward. They can request a new advisor during the summer. They can request a new advisor in the fall until about 10 days before advising day, because we need time to send the records over from one advisor to the other, give the new advisor a chance to get familiar with the student's records and all of that. So it's usually about 10 days before advising day is the cutoff each semester. And with that, I know we are at 8:01, and I want to thank everyone for your really incredible participation tonight. Thank you so much. We are going to stay on for a few minutes if we did not get a chance to answer your questions, or if you have some comments to make, and we greatly appreciate you being with us. We hope to see you next month. If you have ideas for what you would like to see in next month's webinar, please send them to me. I'd love to hear from you and make sure that we're addressing your issues and concerns. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe. Okay. Wonderful job, folks. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Ooh, they liked our webinars. That's awesome.
Rob, how did you do that?
What?
He just had rockets shoot across his
Oh,
little
yeah.
rectangle.
React.
I don't have So clearly I just recently updated my Zoom because those were not there before.
Love it. Thank you all very much for your very engaging, active, great information session. I like having it broken up with the questions in the middle. I think that's a good way to go. It's much easier to keep up with all the questions that come through.
Mhm.
So I think we'll have to continue doing that. But yeah, good times.
All right.
And on that note, Seth or Vicky or Martha or Elizabeth, any questions? If not, I am probably going to end this webinar.
All right. Thank you, Joanne.
And thank you all very, very much. Have a great evening. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Lots of questions for your student. Yep, I get it, Martha. Hopefully the questions that you are coming up with and that maybe we shared with you could be very helpful in that conversation with your student. Okay, folks, have a great evening. Bye-bye.